Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I speak with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to get their thoughts, tips, strategies, productivity tricks, and ideas that you can apply and take your career or business to the next level. The episode you're about to listen to is with Shannon Walton. Shannon has had a terrific career on the PR side of things in the outdoor biz. In this conversation, we talk about how she got interested in the outdoors, her first job, river rafting and guiding, and I think we're learning a little bit about a new career direction for her. Enjoy. Hey guys, Rick Sayes here with another edition of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Today we're talking to Shannon Walton. She's been in the outdoor biz a long time and has been on the PR side of things, and I think now we're going to learn today how she's shifting gears a little bit. Hey Shannon, how you doing?
Great, Rick. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So nice and warm up there in Park City these days?
It's getting warm. We had snow the other day, but It's looking like spring.
Cool, yeah. Spring here. All the snow in our Sierra is starting to melt, so we're all freaking out about floods, but I think we'll be fine.
Hopefully you guys will be good this year.
Oh yeah, it's all going to be good. A lot of spring skiing, a lot of boating and fishing. So let's see.
Excellent.
What was your first exposure to the outdoors? Did you grow up in the outdoors, or what was camping and hiking as a kid, or what?
I didn't really. My first major exposure to the outdoors was going to outdoor school. We lived in Oregon for a couple of years, luckily over sixth grade. And in Oregon, in sixth grade, you go to outdoor school for a week.
Yeah, outdoor camp. I taught at one of those.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah, for 4 years. I was did my internship out of my college program and got hired and was a teacher at San Diego Outdoor School for 4 years. It was awesome.
It's awesome, right? Yeah, it was great. We did it on the Oregon coast, and the life cycle and the web of life really captivated me.
Cool.
And that drew me in.
Nice, awesome. So then after that, you just got hooked and went and found outdoor stuff to do, huh?
Well, I grew up on a lake, and so I spent every summer in my bathing suit from Memorial Day to Labor Day,
Nice.
Water skiing and sailing and goofing around on boats.
Right on.
So I guess that counts as the outdoors, but I didn't really go camping or hiking until college.
Gotcha.
I had a boyfriend who grew up in Wyoming, and he was an outdoors guy, and we went camping and hiking quite a bit.
Cool.
And in fact, when we graduated, we went on a 5-month adventure around the West, backpacking in different wilderness areas. And
that must have been awesome.
It was awesome. We were in the winds once for I don't even know how many weeks. We decided to stay as long as we could, and we lived on fish and wild crafting. And
wow, very cool.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
And so you also just spent some time on the rivers too. Were you a river guide or just a rafter or?
I was a river guide. I worked I started in California on the South Fork of the American, like
everybody.
Like many people do.
That's where I went to guide school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did 1 year there, and then I went on a Grand Canyon trip, and the overnight trip idea really captivated me, and I came back from that and made sure that I could go to Idaho the next summer.
Nice.
So the next summer, I kind of skipped a few steps, went directly to the Middle Fork in the Maine.
Wow.
And the Middle Fork is where, they say guides go to retire, but that's where I went to start, more or less.
Yeah, right.
And I spent about 10 years working on the Middle Fork in the Maine. 10 summers.
Yeah, those are great summer jobs, aren't they? Just unbelievable.
Oh, they're the best.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, I was a cat ski guide at Targhee.
Oh, man.
And in the spring and the fall, I did off-trail backpacking trips in the Tetons and in Yellowstone. And
wow, so you're a guide, a professional guy, all-around guide. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And previous to that, I worked in outdoor education. So I thought it would be better to spend my time with people who really wanted to be there as opposed to students who were being forced to be there.
Right.
And it was a great decision. So I was considered a professional outdoor athlete for about, a little over a decade.
Wow, very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I river guided in the summers and taught at outdoor school in the winters. And, man, those are the best years of my life. It was so much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah, the people were great. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. So
and you develop so many skills, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Not only communication, but being able to be aware of everything that's happening around you,
Right. Right.
being able to pick up on how other people are doing.
Yeah,
It's
it
good stuff.
really it does wonders for your human interaction skills because you have to be on top of that, to make sure everybody's having fun and having a good time, but also there's some emergency medical issues you got to be aware of, and yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
pretty awesome.
cool. So how did you get your first more traditional outdoor industry job? What was
Oh,
that?
this is a good story. So,
Good.
I had some clients on the cat who were going to go to do the O route, but go from Zermatt to Chamonix, so
Oh,
a little
okay.
bit backwards of what most people do.
Yeah.
And they came cat skiing to sort of work on their skiing skills. They had been doing a lot of training, and they asked me to come on the trip with them because they had hired a Swiss mountain guide, and they knew the Swiss mountain guide wouldn't tell them if a heel lifter was up or if their zipper was down, or
Right. Right.
how to just kind of more interpersonal stuff.
Yeah.
So they took me along with them, and it was amazing. And we skied with Herman Biener, who
Oh,
is
wow.
the head of the Swiss Mountain Guide Association.
Yeah.
And
Very cool.
Herman and I sat on top of Monte Rosa in Italy, and he said, "I want you to be a Swiss mountain guide. I will
Wow.
train you personally. I want you. You're coming with me." And the whole time we were speaking, the only thing all this stuff that was going through my mind was, I think I might want a boyfriend sometime who can talk about something other than snow crystals and water flow.
Right.
And maybe I want a garden. Maybe I want to, I don't know. I think maybe I'd like to run for city council someday.
Yeah. Right.
And so he saw the look on my face and he said, "But Shannon, you can ski with rich men in Japan." And I just laughed and laughed, and I said, "Herman, I'll be able to ski with rich men in Japan anyway."
Right.
So I turned him down. It didn't. I didn't realize that I was on a track to guide for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with guiding. I love it, but I really wanted a more diverse life than being the guide all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you're right.
Yeah.
It's pretty focused and it beats your body up. And if you do have other aspirations, they go right out the window.
They really do. And you're always talking to people as if you're a guide. I noticed it with my family even,
Right.
I wouldn't ask, I would tell all the time. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to communicate like that for the rest of my life.
Huh.
So
you
yeah,
turned that
turned-
job, went back.
I turned down the dream job, went
Yeah.
back to Jackson,
Yeah.
and kind of freaked out because I realized I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I started taking contract jobs with different businesses in the outdoor industry that I had contact with, from being sponsored or using their products or, being
Right.
in a photo shoot or something.
Right.
And that was cool and that was fun, picking out colors, naming products, testing stuff. But I realized that PR and marketing would be kind of the niche within the industry where I could be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to my stuff, the clothing that I had been given being a sponsored athlete, and everything that I loved had a little hang tag sewn into it that said Scholler.
Oh, interesting.
So I researched the company and discovered that it was a Swiss company based in science that was ecologically totally on point, had really high standards, and made really cool stuff.
Really cool stuff, yeah.
Really cool stuff. So I called the president in the U.S., Tom Weinbender, and said, "How do I work for you? I want to do PR for you."
Wow.
And he basically said, "You don't really have any skills." So, yeah, in so many words. And so
yeah, but a job as a guide is almost the perfect PR job. PR
really
training,
is.
right? I mean,
it really is.
Yeah.
So I took a job at Sport Hill, actually, in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
Being a sales manager, managing reps, and really learning that side of the business. I had worked in shops previously.
Okay, yeah.
So I was getting to know that part of the business, the inside sales part. And then I ran into Tom again and said, "I really want to work for you." And he said, "Perfect. I need a PR person." And the timing was just right.
Oh, wow, cool.
I had met a man who wasn't a guide, who was fantastic. And I moved to Seattle to marry him. And that's where Scholler happened to be. And it worked out that right when I was ready, Schiller was ready for me. So
That's excellent. So what part of your made you want to get into PR? Was it the guiding, or was it something else about your personality you thought you'd be successful? How'd that come about?
that's a great question, Rick. I don't know exactly. It just seemed like that would be the place where I would do well.
Uh-huh.
That I knew that there was a certain work ethic that went into PR and marketing that meant 24 hours a day being on,
Right.
which is a lot like guiding. I knew that it meant being both very planned out and reactive, which is a lot like guiding. So
yeah.
I think it felt like the right fit, and I ended up at just the right place with just the right team.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So did you enjoy the sales side of it, or you were just doing that to gain experience?
I did enjoy the sales side of it.
Yeah.
I really did. I loved traveling with the reps around the West. The West was my territory.
Cool. Yeah.
And seeing how they interacted with stores. And for a while, I thought it'd be really fun to be a rep. I tried that. That didn't really work.
Yeah. That's a unique personality type as well.
It is.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you were with Scholler for a long time, right?
I was. Yeah. Just over 10 years.
Yeah. And
yeah.
how did so over those 10 years, the industry has evolved a lot over the years. How did that change over the 10 years? What did it start out like, and what did it end up like?
That's such a great question. When I started at Scholler, Scholler was definitely in a very sweet spot. And we had great sales, not only in the outdoor industry, but also in office furniture.
Oh, wow.
And
didn't know that.
And a couple other ancillary industries, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2008 happened. And we actually had a great indication that there was going to be a major economic downturn because the office furniture sales went to zero.
Oh, interesting. That's a good tell. Yeah.
Yeah. Before the rest of the country really felt the impact.
And were they still in the U.S. at that time?
Sorry?
They were still headquartered in the U.S. at that time?
The Scholler?
Scholler, yeah.
Well, Scholler has a U.S. office,
right.
So it's a Swiss company with a U.S. office. Yeah. We were in Seattle.
Okay.
And that was a great tell. And we all took a pay cut, and we all worked really hard. And around 2010, we were killing it again.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We were doing great, and I think the reason we were doing great, there was a phase for a while, and I think it's coming back around again, where because people didn't have a lot of extra income, they would only buy one thing, and they'd buy something expensive and high quality instead of buying lots of things.
Right, and something that would last, and right, multi-purpose, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the brands in the outdoor industry saw that as well. We were doing well, and that was also about the same time that direct to consumer started.
Mm-hmm.
And the brands doing that are very smart in that they can use really high-end supplies because it's not getting the markup and the markup and the markup.
Right.
And so that was great with that dual time of direct to consumer and a real value.
Right. And you worked with a bunch of different brands, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
all the big hitters use Scholler.
Yep, they all have it one time or another, and generally what happens with a brand is that when a brand is successful, someone else comes along and they want to buy it,
right,
or they go public, and then there's a board of directors that demands a higher ROI,
right, and
so then that brand looks for something to sub for Scholler because Scholler is really expensive.
Yeah, but you get what you pay for, but it's expensive. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So did you work with only U.S. brands, or did you have any interaction with international brands also?
I had interaction with international brands as well. I did PR marketing for all of North America. So sometimes that included helping out brands in Australia and New Zealand, as well as, of course, as Canada and Mexico. And then when brands would go international, there was a lot of work on that side as well.
Right. And you probably had to work with international brands that were trying to get into the U.S. or North America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that, yeah.
Yep.
So that must have been pretty exciting. So, and that ended a few years ago?
Yep. That ended about 2 years ago. Yep.
And now you're a ski instructor, sailing instructor, and teaching yoga, huh? Tell us about that.
I realized that I
You're back
really,
to being a guide.
I'm back to being a guide. Yeah. One of the things I realized sitting behind that computer, working internationally and working with international brands and really trying to make a lot happen for a lot of people is that as much as I am still a total gear snob, I love gear. I'm not sure my energy is best spent making sure the world has more $1,200 jackets.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And one of the things being in PR marketing, all of the nonprofits come to you looking for funding, and so often the funding is to help educate kids, get kids outside,
Yep.
different kinds of kids.
Yep.
And I really felt like I was missing out on something really significant. And then we moved to Park City, and it's a really cool community. And I really wanted to be more involved locally instead of
cool. Yeah.
being a remote worker. So I've been studying yoga for a bunch of years, but never really got certified. Even though I've got probably, I don't know, now I think 600 hours of trainings.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got my 200-hour teacher training.
Cool.
I got certified as a ski instructor, and I spent the winter as a ski instructor at Deer Valley.
Nice.
And I just completed a U.S. sailing certification this past weekend.
Wow, very cool. Congratulations.
Thanks. So back to that stuff.
Yeah.
Working as a ski instructor this winter at Deer Valley, it really struck me that as much as we really focus on getting underprivileged kids outside and giving them that experience, the overprivileged kids also kind of need a hand.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
In understanding their environment. They get to go to all these really cool places, but they stay in really fancy hotels, and they don't really have the opportunity to interact with the outdoors. And
yeah, they miss a lot of that outdoor connection stuff. They go ski, but then they go back to the lodge and hang out with their rich friends. Probably, I have no idea. I've never been in that. Never ran in that crowd.
Yeah, it's when the kid tells you that their nanny's concierge will pick them up at the end of the day.
Right.
It breaks your heart a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I was talking to someone else about this the other day. Now that we've identified that the outdoor industry is an $800 billion line item for the budget in this country, it seems like there's an opportunity for all of us to reach out like you're doing and do more things to connect the consumer to the outdoor. There's a lot of things going on, don't get me wrong, but it seems like we could do so much more, don't you think?
I do think, and that's one of the reasons why I am now working for the lowest wages I have since I was in high school. But I do think it's really important. The outdoor industry is very powerful in this country, and we see, even right now we're in the middle of all sending in our 2 cents on why national monuments and public lands are important.
Big fight. Exactly. Yeah.
Big fight. So, and the outdoor industry also has been kind of in its own silo, right? We don't really, in the outdoor industry, we don't really connect with hook and bullet. We don't really connect with that, with the sportsman.
Yeah, or the action sports is sort of loosely connected, but not really. We don't connect much with the skateboarders or,
We don't. And I skateboard. I go skateboarding with my 12-year-old nephew all the time.
Nice, yeah.
And that's an amazingly fun thing to do. And, people clearly don't see it. We get a lot of attention when we skateboard together. But yeah, I think we have that opportunity now, especially since we've seen our strength to reach across and not only connect with the consumer, but all these other industries that have the same, what's the word? Like we all want to go outside. Everybody wants to go outside.
We all do all these things all in the same place. And outdoor is getting, a little bit of a definition shift. I mean, it's a little broader than it was, 30 years ago when I started. It was really about backpacking and climbing and rafting, and now it's a little broader in scope, but I still think that the opportunity is for the brands to reach out through the retailer to the consumer. Don't put the burden on the retailer, because the retailer's got a whole nother set of burdens right now.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. And so you've
And
been, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say one of the other things in the outdoor industry that I always found that I still find quite interesting is that we tend in the outdoor industry to market with this aspirational, like, Jimmy Chin on Everest.
Right.
And then I see my mom, who's, she walks her dog and she shows up wearing Arc'teryx shorts.
Right.
So how did she get that? And what does it mean to her to wear that? Yeah. And how come we're not spending time in the outdoor industry bringing more people in?
Right. No, I agree. I have some friends that are avid birders, and I've known them for years. They're one of their brothers within the family was a well-known mountain and ski guide here in town, and they've been rafters and hikers, but now as birders, they show up with all their cool outdoor gear, and everybody asks them, "Where'd you get that? I need those shorts. I need that jacket. I need," and it's interesting that we just haven't reached across the aisle, so to speak, as broadly as I think we can.
I agree.
Yeah. And so you've also been doing a lot of work over the years, on the philanthropic side of things. You were involved with the OIWC, right? Now known as Camber.
I was, yep.
Yeah.
I was a board member.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And how long ago were you working with those guys or gals?
Gosh, when was that? That was 2006, 7. So a while ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I saw something in your profile, I think, about the medicine horse program. What was that? That sounds interesting.
Before we moved to Park City, we were living in Boulder, Colorado for 1 year, which most people stay a little bit longer. But it didn't quite work for us.
I did that I didn't live in Boulder, but I was in Louisville for 1 year.
1 year, right? Yeah, 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a program. There's a couple of them in Boulder actually, where there's organizations that take rescue horses in and work with the horses to train them to work with people who either have a learning disability, or maybe they're vets, or they have some sort of stress in their life. And it's their therapy programs with horses.
Awesome.
So not only do horses need a place to go, end up somewhere cool, but there's a really lovely thing that happens.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Animals, just animals in general, I think help people so much. We spend more time with animals is a good thing too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was a really great deal.
Yeah, cool. And how long did you do that? Just for that 1 year? You didn't participate?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for the whole year. And I'm looking for a place here in Park City where I can plug in to something like that, but I haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
There's definitely lots of horses. But
I would imagine there's the same kind of thing there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in addition to boating and skiing and skateboarding, what other outdoor activities do you do?
Those are my things for sure. Yeah. Boating, sailing now.
Sailing.
Yeah, very excited about some of the program development that's happening here with the Park City Sailing Club.
That's very cool.
They it's interesting. They're very interested in getting more women sailing.
Oh.
And so we're in the middle of a brainstorming session around that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be fun.
It is fun.
And so what are any advice or suggestions for young folks or folks in general wanting to get into the biz or get involved in the outdoor side of things?
Well, I mean, all I can say is just do it, not to steal from Nike, but just, my whole life has been about following my heart and saying yes.
Yeah.
And when I haven't been able to say yes, utilizing what's around me to figure out what's next. So I'd say just be brave and say yes. I noticed in the outdoor industry over the last few years that a lot of the young people were coming in because it was cool, not because they came from hardcore outdoor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I found that fairly interesting, but I think as I've seen a lot of those folks kind of grow up now in the outdoor industry, they are getting out and they are finding it. So I think they are following their hearts. But
I think they are. Yeah, I've talked to a couple of young folks on the show, and it's interesting how they came about it through, skiing or snowboarding or something. But once they've got involved and saw, you take a couple trips to outdoor retail and you realize how philanthropic the industry really is but it's still siloed though. I think we do a lot for the industry, and I think we do a lot for the lands, but we haven't reached out to do a lot for the more consumers to participate. There's some things going on, but there could be a lot more.
I agree, and I think that's really the opportunity.
Yeah. Get more outdoor constituents is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any daily routines that you do to keep your sanity and your health and all those kind of things you want to share with folks?
Oh, meditate. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I have a yoga practice I do in the morning, followed by meditation.
Cool.
Followed by a big old cup of coffee and a dog walk.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Great way to start the day.
How long have you been meditating? A long time?
A couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started that about a year ago with the Headspace app, and it's amazing. A ton. Yeah. I have such a monkey mind. I need help. So I
think everybody does. Yeah. Headspace, probably. And another really good one is Insight Timer.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And Insight Timer is cool. There's just a timer, and then there's a bunch of guided meditations that you can do, and there's music, which is cool. Uh-huh. But it's also a social app, so you can see, like, it'll show you that there's 3 million people in the world meditating with you.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Awesome.
And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. We'll be sure and put that in the show notes. That's pretty cool. I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah. Insight Timer. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And how about some favorite books? Do you have any favorite books or books you've most often gifted or?
Well, The River Wild is my favorite book of all time. Yeah.
Great book. Yeah. Good one.
Great book. David James Duncan is, and anything by Terry Tempest Williams.
Yeah. She's fabulous too. Yeah.
Yep. Those are my top 2. Wendell Berry. Anything Wendell Berry.
Yeah. Another good one.
Yep.
I'm sure we could sit here and come up with a list of books all day, right?
All day.
Do you give books as gifts a lot?
I do. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I do. I think reading is really important.
Yeah.
And I'm glancing at my bookshelf right now, and the book that's really sticking out to me right now is Rick Bass.
Yeah. He just wrote a new book, I think, didn't he?
I don't know. Is it For a Little While? I think that's the newest Rick Bass book on the shelf.
I thought I read somewhere that he just wrote a new one. I'll have to check in with him. I don't remember. Anything you want to? Favorite? Sorry?
Do you have a favorite?
Oh man, I have so many favorites. It's hard to say. I kind of lean towards right now. I'm leaning towards some of the inspirational books like Simon Sinek. I forget the title of it, but it's Why. Find Your Why. I just think that that's always what's driven me is why am I doing this? Why am I gonna do this? Why do I want to do this? It really, has kept me centered and grounded. And it's always been because I love the outdoors. I've been in the outdoors, since my grandfather and father took me fishing as a kid, and it's got both my degrees are in outdoor recreation. It's just been my entire life, so it's been pretty fun, pretty good.
We're really lucky people, Rick.
Oh man, it's amazing. That's the other thing about the outdoor biz is just such a great group of people, a great tribe. That's why I started the podcast. I think, so many of us have great stories and great backgrounds and great histories, and we get together a couple times a year at trade shows or other events, but some of these stories just, get lost or don't get shared widely enough. And I thought this might be a cool way for us, me to interview people and learn about other folks, but also to give their stories a voice and, help share it to the broader world. So it's a great tribe.
It is a great tribe.
A lot of cool people.
It's my favorite thing. Yeah, I love going to outdoor retailer. It's like the best high school reunion ever.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, you're right.
I love it. I love seeing my people all in one place.
What do you think about some of the changing winds in the outdoor retail world? Retailers are struggling a bit. The show is changing. I think it's all for the good, but what are your thoughts on some of those directions? So the show, let's tackle the show first. What do you think about the shows? They're joining together. They're moving around. New shows popped up.
Yeah, I think that it's just the nature of the world. Nothing stays the same.
Yeah,
change is the constant, and it's we're at an interesting junction when it comes to the shows, and we're at an interesting junction for the retailers.
Yeah.
It's I go to a lot of retail stores still. Like I no matter what, I love going into shops and seeing. how they're merchandised, what draws people in,
Right.
how the staff interacts with people. And I see it. I definitely see some shifting in that independent retailer being more diverse, maybe offering coffee, maybe more community stuff.
Yeah, they have to get a lot more creative, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more creative.
Yeah, and more
And then-
embracing too. I mean, it's not just
Yeah.
you can't just no longer open the doors and walk in and have somebody buy something, or you're going to sell it to them. You've got to really, speak to your tribe, embrace your consumer, and help them.
You really do.
Get into new activities and get deeper into the activities they're into.
You really do. There's some.
Yeah, those are the guys that are achieving success on the retail side.
I agree. I just, I think all of it is just that we're kind of politically, socially, we're at a very interesting time.
Yeah.
And anyone who's creative and positive and willing to figure stuff out is going to survive great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bring out, tap that creativity gene that you have and figure out how you can help. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. It's a maturation process. Even the manufacturers are going through a lot of change right now because as the retailers struggle, that trickles uphill back to the manufacturer, and they have to shift gears and do more to embrace the retailer and the consumer directly, as we were talking about earlier.
It sure does. And having worked on the supply side, it goes all the way to the fiber suppliers, right?
Yeah.
And so once they adjust, as it works that way, and those guys adjust, then there's an adjustment period coming back all the way through the supply chain.
Right.
And and that's going to take some time.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. It's
Yep.
significantly moving landscape. So anything
really
else you
is.
want to tell our audience or ask or?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm looking out the window and it's all these beautiful spring colors, and I think it's really cool that you're starting this.
Well, thanks.
And building community and or expanding on the community that already exists. I think it's super cool.
Cool. And where can people find you online? Is LinkedIn the best spot, or do you have a website,
LinkedIn.
Email?
Shannon at thewaltonworks.com
Okay.
is still a good one.
Cool.
LinkedIn, I really need to redo my LinkedIn.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
I think probably everybody knows that that's like the last thing any of us want to do is sit in front of our computers and write about ourselves.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, we'll put all that contact info in the show notes and all the books we talked about. And I appreciate the time. It's been fun.
Right on. Yeah. Thank you so much. I
All right.
really enjoy you, and I'm really psyched for this.
All right. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Shannon Walton. You can find her at shannon@thewaltonworks.com. That's SHANNON, Walton, WALTON. You can find links to all the info we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 003. I appreciate the support and feedback, and until next time, thank you so much for listening. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes or go to stillwaterscode.com/podcast, where you will find all our interviews, see the current work we're creating, our reading list, plus much, much more. Follow Rick on Twitter at RickSaysPhoto and on Facebook at facebook.com/rick.says. Until next time, thanks for listening, and be sure and get outside.